Welcome, my friends, to the Quantum Shamans presented by Moshi, the Ministry of Shamanic Healing and Integration, bringing you insights into the spiritual secrets of the mind and the universe around you. We are here to help you on your spiritual journey and path of healing. And now your hosts, David and Anthony.
Hello, and welcome to Quantum Shamans presented by Moshi. I'm Anthony.
And I'm David.
And we're here today with the lovely, awesome Leann Rafton. Hi, Leann.
Hi guys. Thanks
We're
for
so happy that you're here today.
Happy, I'm grateful.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear what you have for us and what we're going to talk about today. We've already been talking for about 15 minutes, sitting here, and now we're just getting started. And as we get started, Dave.
Can't wait to hear your beautiful medicine.
Yeah.
I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about our Moshi vision statement.
You're going to recite the Moshi vision statement from memory.
The Ministry of Shamanic Healing aims to help individuals heal from spiritual maladies stored as energy in the subconscious. They manifest in the form of trauma, PTSD, physical health issues, mental illness, and addiction. These practices include, but are not limited to, yoga, breathwork, meditation and mindfulness practices, Reiki, sweat lodge ceremonies, sensory deprivation, sacred plants, and any other rituals we collectively decide to establish. We hold ritual ceremonies for our community to heal collectively in a safe space, as well as individual ritual healing tailored to the members of our collective for intensive inner work. Our most important responsibility is to help our members to integrate their collective and individual experiences in order to ameliorate their spiritual maladies and spread love for the betterment of mankind. Our belief is that our collective consciousness is God. Every living thing, every living thing is equally important and is essential for homeostasis. From the single cell organisms to the observable universe, we're all equally important, and we all deserve love, respect, peace, harmony, and forgiveness. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. Love conquers all.
Love conquers all. I agree. That was awesome, Dave. So I got to sit here and watch the energy flow in over both the tops of your eyebrows right here. I was watching you connect to a thought stream into your head. You're like, la, 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 watching all the words kind of come into your mind. That was so awesome, too. You're getting awesome at that. That's so good. Hi, Leann.
Hey guys.
We're so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. This is your first podcast, huh?
It's my first podcast ever, yeah.
Good. Well, then you're in the right place because this is an awesome podcast. Now you're a quantum shaman.
I'm curious why you chose me to be one of your guests.
Because you have beautiful medicine to share.
Yeah, you have a beautiful light. That's the thing. Me and Mary were talking about you earlier for a council. I'm looking forward to sitting down with Leann and talking about whatever comes up because I just love the light that comes through you. I was aware of it before. I don't know how we got to know each other. But I know that somehow we ended up friends on Facebook, and through that I'm always able to connect to people through photos and everything. I can see I know her. I was like, oh, I know her. She has this light. And then when I met you in person, I was like, yeah, I've known her for a long time. So that happens a lot to me with people as I'm moving into my space of deeper awakening. It's like I'm vibrating with people and we're all starting to kind of come together. That's what's happening.
Well, I remember very vividly the first time that I experienced you and your medicine was last summer, so probably like junior July, and it was a light club. I signed up for one of your light clubs, recommended from someone else, and it was a beautiful experience. It was my first experience with breathwork. I had just a couple weeks prior been to one of Dr. Joe Dispenza's events, and so it was awesome. Very magical.
Yeah, so I remember that now. I remember that. Light Club. I haven't had one in a while. We should make it some more.
Yeah, it's been like a month, I think.
Yeah.
The last one was very powerful.
Yeah, they're always really good. I really enjoy those.
They are great. I love the in-person too. They're both so different.
They're fun to us through. So Leann, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? Where were you raised? Tell us the story of Leann. Who is Leann Rafton?
All right. From Elyria, still live there now. My story. Grew up in a, standard middle class family, lots of love. on paper everything was right. And then I think knowing what I know now and being on this journey looking back, I felt very sensitive, very emotional, probably misunderstood at times. I knew I was safe and I knew I was loved, but there was still a feeling of being misunderstood or unsure of what I was feeling. So I think from an early age, I learned to dissociate and self-medicate. Food when I was younger, and then went into alcohol. And I came from a family of heavy drinkers and just kind of went into those habits myself and didn't really ever think about it, And I was always a seeker, so I know I was reading like Gabrielle Bernstein and loved those ideas when I was in my early 20s, but still very wrapped up in alcohol and food and all of that. And so I was in and out of therapy. I've been on and off prescription meds, kind of always had this on and off anxiety and depression. That's so common these days.
Energy sensitivity.
Yeah. And self-medicating and actual prescription meds and therapists. And none of those people ever talked to me about meditation, breath work. The only question I ever got asked was if I had a physical exercise practice, which was huge for my mental health for sure when I did learn healthy eating habits and exercise. That did help a lot. But for years I never knew about these things. These things I could do on my own that were more holistic than prescription medications. And so what really switched for me was finding a therapist that got me back into my body. And I've learned from talking to people that people don't understand what that means, because I think so much of society is outside of our bodies altogether, or if people are lucky, at least inside their heads, but not inside their bodies. So she used practices EMDR and hypnosis to get me back into my body and work on things that were stuck there for a long time. And it felt really weird at first and uncomfortable. But I'm kind of have that like good student archetype. So I wanted to do a good job, right? Yeah. I wanted to do it right. So she was like, well, where do you feel that in your body? And I'm like, I don't know, here in my stomach or somewhere in there. And what I know now is like where my head went was the right answer. I just wasn't tapped in enough to know it or to really feel it in my body. But when I said something just because I wanted to answer her, it was the right answer because I did know intuitively. So I worked with her for a while and we cleared that. Along the same lines, around the same time, I also got sober, which was huge. I think I was 32 when I realized that not every family was doing shots of Jack Daniels at lunchtime. I'd never even, never thought anything of it before that, right? It was just what I knew. And that's all part of my journey, so no blame or anything there, but I had tried a couple times before. I took breaks from drinking and it was a struggle, I was uncomfortable and I had cravings and something switched January of 2020. I decided to do dry January. After the holidays and a vacation and all of that, just wanted a break like I had done before. Decided I was going to stop drinking for 2 months because my birthday was in March and I couldn't imagine at that point not drinking for my birthday.
So like a break.
Yeah, 2-month break was my goal. And it was like a switch flipped. It was, I think, the most obvious version of a quantum flip in my life. My senses were clearer, colors were brighter, I felt joy that I hadn't felt ever, that I could remember. I read a couple books that really helped change my perspective, and I just felt really good. I felt really good. It felt completely different. And it was still hard. Like, there were still a lot of hard feelings too, because, you know, I was numbing for so long, and I wasn't an everyday drinker even. But it was consistent. You know, it was consistently 3, 4, 5 times a week. And what I know now is alcohol doesn't leave your body for at least 7 days. So it was always in my system, even though I wasn't a daily drinker.
And shutting off your frequency.
Exactly. Numbing all of my senses, numbing the bad feelings, the stress, the pain, the grief, but also numbing the good feelings, the joy and the fun and the laughter. Right. Because you can't choose which ones you want to numb. So yeah, something switched, and I haven't drank since. And like, looking back now to do that in January of 2020, right before a pandemic, was huge. It was life-changing. I believe that it saved my marriage and my other important relationships. I don't like to think about what the pandemic could have looked like for me if I was still a heavy drinker. So that was huge, and that was beautiful. And
just in time.
yeah, all divine timing, right? Yeah, and I did it just, and I hate to sound like it was easy. I don't want to give off that, because I know that people do struggle with it.
But for you,
But it was like,
you made a decision.
honestly, it was just a switch flipped, and life changed. And then I deep dove into more of the practices that my therapist was introducing me to, got big into Dr. Joe, went to one of his live events, like I mentioned.
Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Dr. Joe Dispenza, yeah. Still do his work today. And I think one thing that was really important in my sobriety is that I never, other than like initially saying 2 months, I never put a lot of pressure on it. I never said, I'm sober forever, I'm never drinking again, this is who I am now. I just kind of said, like, I know I'm not going to drink today, and I'm probably not going to drink tomorrow. And I've still never said, like, I know my soul, my higher being knows that it has no place in my life anymore. But I've still never said those words, and so I think that was really helpful too, to not put so much pressure on it.
Right.
So yeah, so I've just, in the past 2 years, really dove deep into these practices that have changed my life and helped me heal and helped me stay in my body after decades of dissociating. And it's been life-changing. And so how I ended up here kind of was, after I went to the Dr. Joe Dispenza event, I came home, and it's such a beautiful bubble of people. There was, I think, around 3,000 people in the space, all meditating together for hours. And I came home and I'm like, well, now what? I think there was a mass shooting that week I came back, and I went back to like normal life. And I just, I was just like, what do I do? I need to find my people. I didn't really have people in my life that were on this path. So I reached out to one person that I knew that was doing it, and she told me about 2 other people that I should contact. One was you guys, you and Mary, and then the other one was Elise Free, who I am working with now. And she, at that time, was doing Dr. Joe meditations on Zoom every morning at 5 a.m. So
I got to witness some of them.
Yeah, I contacted her.
I don't witness anything at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Your eyelids.
It's a tough one. It's a tough adjustment for sure. Like, nobody's doing nothing at 5 a.m. It's something you really have to commit to and want, but it is a very magical hour. And I'll be honest, there were some days I went back to sleep after the meditation. I think there was a couple times I went back to sleep during the meditation.
You showed up.
But it's a process, right? And it is a magical hour when most of the world is still asleep, and then you wake up, and depending on the time of the year, the sun's woke up with you, and it's really beautiful. So got in touch with Elise. We met in person, and she said, what is it that you're looking for? And I said, I'm looking for a community. I didn't have a community. With being newly sober, I lost a lot of the friends that I had, or the people that I was spending time with before. I didn't have a church. I don't have kids where I would meet people that way. I didn't really feel like I had a community. So she said, let's start one.
Perfect.
And that had never crossed my mind that I could just start something like that. And I know you both understand that because you've both started beautiful communities. So yeah, we have a group on Fridays that meets up every Friday morning in Westlake. We've been doing that about a year. We have, sometimes it's meditation, it's breath work, it's group discussion. Sometimes we have group or guest speakers, which you've done a couple times.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
So yeah, it's been
What's the
really
name of the
great.
group?
So we started off calling it Bodhi's Circle, and now we just kind of call it Circle. It doesn't really have like
Circle.
an official name or.
How do people find that?
It's mostly word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I promote it sometimes on my social media. But it's anyone's welcome. There's no cost.
Mm-hmm.
It is every single Friday morning, 9 to 10:30 in Westlake. And it's just a group for people. And then in that, we've connected with you in your community, the
Yeah.
community here. It just snowballs after that. After
Right.
you commit
Start
and
connecting
sign
to all the
up,
communities,
yeah.
right?
You find all the people that you're supposed to find.
And
Right.
eventually all of them will merge to become one big community.
Right. Right.
Mycelium.
And I think that's already happening, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
big time.
Yeah.
That's kind of why we're all called to do that.
My community has been around since like 2020.
Mhm.
It started off as the Ohio Psychedelic Society, and then
Right.
the beginning of this year, I decided to turn it into a church.
Mhm.
That's kind of when Anthony came into my reality, and then our groups have been merging.
Right.
And then with all the other groups, because we do work all over the place, and now so we get to meet all these
Connected
other
lines to
groups.
you and Elise.
Yeah. Mycelium. So in our tradition, we call these C-key lines, or grid lines of energy. So I'm aware that's like, I've known that about you for a while. You're a connector of light and energy. That's what gives you the drive to, I need a community, I need to create. And then you manifested the person, at least free, that knows just how to motivate you to do that. You're like, oh, let's create a community. That's kind of how it happened to me and Mary. We kind of had a vast, strong awakening. And we're like, let's start looking for other people. We couldn't really find them. And we're like, well, we got to become the people we're looking for. And then so that's what happens. There's people all over the place awakening, looking for us, these communities. And that's why we do this. Because this will potentially open people's mind. People that know you, that know Dave, that know me, they all start to know each other.
Right.
They start showing up at each other's events, intermingling. It opens up this huge way for like communication and development to happen, like in the community. Like once we start to become like intertwined and coherent, we can like essentially create like a whole new reality. And that's what happens, or at least at the minimum, like a type of society that is beyond this one.
Yeah. Be the change you want to see in the
That's
world.
right. Yeah, I love it. I was going to ask you something that was kind of stuck with me. There was an energy line hit me from it. You mentioned an author that you read, Gabriel something. What did you say the author's name was? It was at the beginning. You said I read this a book.
In your 20s.
Oh, Gabrielle Bernstein.
Gabrielle Bernstein.
Yeah, she's just another one of those motivational energy work type of authors.
Mhm.
She's around my age, so obviously I connected with that. And her work is based on A Course in Miracles, which is also something I really love. Marianne Williamson too.
Yeah.
That's another one who sums up A Course in Miracles really beautifully. Actually, one of the things that we mentioned, the three of us, was love versus fear. And that was the first time that I read that concept was Marianne Williamson. Just that every single thought, action, feeling comes down to love or fear. That's all it really is.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about it summed up simplified that way.
The ego wants to deny that. It's like, it's so much more complex than that.
Yeah.
You're just glossing over things and making it too simple. The truth is, it's the ego that creates complication. Because the truth is, it's just how you're saying. You have two frequencies of consciousness generally in this dualized mind to pick from. Do you want to be fear or do you want to be love? Which one do you want? We get to choose that in every moment. The only thing that stops us is the story that we're agreeing to.
Right.
So that sounds interesting. I love like motivational speakers and books. It's so helpful to get people open into things.
Yeah.
And then one other thing that came around was EMDR. Could you explain what that is?
Ooh. I can't remember the exact words,
Eye movement,
eye movement,
desensitization.
yeah, I can never remember the
R.
rest of it.
Reprogramming,
Ooh, that might be
I
right.
think that's what it is.
So it is a form of therapy that essentially taps into your nervous system and clears subconscious thoughts, beliefs, memories, and every therapist does it a little bit differently. I've heard of ones where you're actually like your head's in a headset and there's lights. What my personal therapist did was she used her fingers, and I would follow her fingers with my eyes at the same time that she's kind of talking me through like a meditation. I'm focusing on my breathing. There's a lot happening at once, so it was very awkward for me, who was an overthinker. I was like, I want to do it right. But essentially the idea is that the way that your eyes move back and forth is a way to clear stuff that's stuck in your body and in your subconscious. And I've even heard recently that this happens also when you're on a walk and you're actually present and like looking forward, but like you're paying attention to everything going on around you. Yeah. So I think that there's ways to even get that kind of therapy and healing naturally. But yeah, that was huge for me.
Yeah. It's all about neural stimulation. That's something I'm deeply aware of and become more aware of every day.
Yeah.
I think we were talking before we started in here. I was stating the fact that we don't actually experience reality. We experience a nervous system. Everything's frequency, vibration that happens through this spaghetti noodles of stuff connected to this receiver and transmitter.
Yeah, the nervous system conversation is big right now, and I love that. I love that people are becoming more aware of things that they can do naturally, which is why like breathwork was so crucial for me and so effective for me, because I do overthink things and sometimes like I know that there's no such thing as a bad meditation, but I can get caught up in my thoughts. I think we all can, and that's a common misconception, is that you're supposed to stop all thinking during meditation.
Right.
But I feel that with the breath and same with the cold exposure is I can't really think of anything else when I'm doing breath work or cold exposure. I really am 100% in the present moment and can't think about anything else. And that has been really life-changing for me, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt, because that's just like we were talking about, it's neural stimulation.
Moving into a higher frequency.
Yeah, it's just a complete reset.
We get to breathe and get that diaphragm moving. You're pumping blood, lymph, cerebrospinal fluid into the brain. It's perfect. I'm an overthinker too. So it's perfect. You're actually sending information and energy to the part of the brain that's more responsible for response over reaction. And that's why, part of the reason why it's so powerful in this ancient human technology, and that's always the joke to me, is like one of the most powerful things you can do for you is right under your nose. It's right there. And in cold water, you can't worry, nothing happens when you're freezing your ass off. It just doesn't happen.
Except the breath. That's all you can do is just breathe again.
And then the dopamine rise. It's really amazing. Because I know working with Elise, you guys got a really nice Morosco forge plunge over there, which I had the beauty of using her other one in Florida.
It's been beautiful. Yeah, I started with you guys. My very first cold plunge was in Lake Erie.
Cool.
With you and Mary
I remember
in
now.
December.
Yeah, it was a snowy day too. It was icy.
Yeah, it was
Did I have to
awesome.
like open up a hole in the ice or something?
Yeah, there was ice. And I think all three of us were like questioning if we were really going to go through with it. Yeah.
I have not done that
but
yet.
we did.
My first one's in June, and it's going to be quite transformational.
It is.
Know.
Ice bath at Jane's Barn, y'all.
It's incredible. It's I mean the physical benefits are amazing, and there's lots of research with that. Again, Andrew Huberman is the best one to go to that I know of.
I agree.
But I don't really have any physical ailments, chronic pain. For me, the benefits in my mental health are just unbelievable. With, my history of trying different things, different modalities, there's nothing I found that can switch in 2 minutes. And when I wake up, I still have those days. I wake up just low energy, low motivation, kind of depressed. and it's hard to get myself there, but if I can get there and do 2 minutes in the cold plunge, it's night and day.
Do you
There's
do cold
nothing-
showers?
I do, yeah. I do that when I can't get to the plunge for sure. And that helps too. I find that harder and less peaceful.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I feel
it's
it gives
still
me
good.
more dopamine.
Do you think?
Well, yeah, because it's a little more challenging because
It
every
is.
time you turn, it's like stimulating parts of the nervous system again. And then I keep my head under the water, so I go for like something, so it's like a therapy I kind of do. I'll keep my head under there until I start to get brain freeze, and I pull my head out, use my body, and then once that kind of subsides, I put it back in. I'll do like 3 sets of that. And while I've been doing that, the ability to be able to handle the cold has gotten deeper and deeper and deeper, so it's changed my neurological function. And so I'm aware that when I'm doing it, it's causing this huge dopamine spike. I can feel it. And we're also very powerful. Humans are very powerful, and that's what we're learning now, is how powerful the control of our mind over our autonomic nervous system is. I can ask for it to happen. There's times where I can sit in meditation and I can ask for dopamine to come to me because of all the work I've done in the cold, because I've gone way past the regular 2-3 minute places and been in it up as long as into the 20-minute range. And when you're in there, that becomes really psychedelic and kind of metaphysical when you're in there that long period of time. That really starts rewiring abilities to make my hands and feet warm. I don't think there's a limit. I think it's a great tool to help us understand what we're actually capable of. We'll get to a point where you won't need the cold water to feel the way that feels.
Yeah.
You'll be able to turn that on in your body.
That makes sense.
Just like breathing. I can do what used to take me 50 breaths, I can do in 4. I can
Yeah.
open my DMT pathway in 4 breaths.
Yeah. It's exercising muscle, right? And muscle memory and body memory.
A nervous system, or contractile
Yeah, that makes sense.
energy form.
Actually, about the showers, because now that I've done the plunge for several months, I do feel like the showers is more of a mental battle.
Yeah, it's like getting ready to jump in the double dutch.
Yeah.
Before you get in there, the bath's just different because it's like jumping out of a plane. Geronimo! Bloop, you're in there and there's
Once you
no
do
other
it,
way
you're
out.
done, yeah.
The shower, you gotta willfully step into it. And I'm totally crazy about it, so I do it like first thing in the morning. I jump out of bed and I walk right into it pretty much. And sometimes I do it even worse. I'll stand in the shower, I'll look at the shower head, take a few breaths and turn it on, slam! And then it's that impact is what causes the big shift and change. Is that right there?
Yeah.
That opens up everything. So you're definitely right though. There's vast differences in how you feel when you do each one of them. I feel getting in the tub goes much deeper in. Like I feel more of it into the tissues of my body and everything. Deep in through the body is how that feels. Whereas the shower feels a little more superficial, but a lot more challenging psychologically.
That makes sense.
When I get out of a cold shower, I feel my body vibrating like I've been breathing for 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, and that's, I think, the thing with a lot of this work that can be challenging is it's like beforehand I'm like, why am I doing this? Why? Why am I torturing myself? And then after I'm like, oh yeah, that's why. Like, I feel alive again. The dopamine, the energy. So yeah, I know, I think Elise is going to be on the podcast as well, so she'll have
Yeah, I think
lots
she's
to-
next.
She'll have lots to share about her experience with the cold as well. But yeah, that's one of the many modalities or tools in my toolbox that I've used now. And so like I said, I've been sober for 3.5 years. I've been off prescription meds for 2.5 years. And it's been amazing, and I feel more alive than I ever have.
You definitely are. I'll agree. I've been happy to be here growing with you in this space. Yeah, Popo's your luminous energy field. He's not talking dirty. He's talking pretty. Yeah, you do. You have a beautiful energy field. It's open and wide. And that's part of the reason why I'm so glad you're here to share this, because what's come through you, just like I knew it would be words other people need to hear. That, yeah, you can make changes. You can decide to make changes and modalities. You're backing up science and everything. It's
Yeah.
coming through in a beautiful way.
When you're stuck in a low vibrational setting, depression, anxiety, whatever, your energetic field is very close to your body. And
Right.
If you start to heal, it starts expanding. And then that's when you're really open and ready to receive those.
Yeah, and then you
those
gain
downloads.
control over it.
Yeah.
Maybe I can make it move, I can expand it into the room. You can do all kinds of things with your energy field once you become, it's awareness first, aware that it's there. And that's part of the things I help people do is in certain trainings I get them, I even have videos and stuff helping people get that neural connection to their
Right.
bubble.
Right.
Because that's where it starts. It starts with where? The imagination. The imagination isn't false, it's real, it's part of the visual cortex of our being. That's how we manifest from unmanifested light. It's just kind of been hidden from us. Like, hey, it's just your imagination, don't use that.
Right.
Bad, no good, that's goofy, don't do that.
Like
But
all those
that-
things we're told when we're kids.
Yeah, yeah.
About imaginary friends and
Well, because
don't
they
make
were told
weird
that
noises.
too. So the conditioning happened
Right.
long ago and
Right.
passes down. And then all we end up with is just this underdeveloped part of our mind, brain, and energy field. So then we're not connecting. We've been trained to manifest pain. Or in fear, because we worry about outcomes all the time instead of being in the present moment. So we've actually been programmed to use our imaginative state to create a world that works against us, because we're the creator. But as enough of us start to wake up and realize, how you're realizing, we're all starting to realize, like, hey, how I think has everything to do with how my reality works.
Right.
We start to become how we were talking, I think, before we got on, is I accept each moment as if I've chosen it. We can choose to train our mind to step into creatorship,
Right.
right? We're going to resist at first. I mean, it's totally normal. I mean,
Right.
it's a program. You're going against a program, but how do you overcome a program? Repetition, the same way the program was built.
And that phrase just helps so much with acceptance, and that's something that's just changed my life completely, is just accepting each moment. And for me, I always think of it as like zooming out, because when you're in the stress and in the moment, and it feels like whatever thing is the end of the world, it feels all consuming. And if you have the awareness to actually zoom out and kind of have a bird's eye view of your life, that's really gotten me through a lot of things and made me realize that it's not going to matter. Whichever outcome ends up happening, whether it's work, personal, anything, is it really going to matter to my life in 6 months? You know, and that's a hard one sometimes when you're talking about business or whatnot, and you're potentially going to lose a chunk of money, and it sucks, and it's really stressful. But I'm lucky enough to be able to zoom out and say I have a home, I can pay my bills. I might have to adjust some things without that money, but whichever way this deal goes, I'm going to be okay, and I have everything that I need inside of me. So.
And then that can begin to cultivate the vibration of gratitude.
Right.
Because because that's something I've been working on a lot, and it's really changed my life, is allowing myself to understand gratitude past its concept and feel its vibration. And as I can feel its vibration, now I'm absorbing, and then I can radiate and push it out through my energy field. So I can bounce it off walls, things around me. I'm giving, sending the frequency of gratitude into everything around me. And it loves me back, because it is me. Now, this microphone that I just gave, I sent all my gratitude into it. It's grateful too. It's like, thanks for noticing me, I love you too.
Yeah.
That's how it feels. And we can be that way with
Everything
everything in
is
our
energy.
life. Yeah. Even the challenges, even when we're stuck in just being in the space of overthinking, being in the space of identity of what we think is the problem, and then being able to shift out of there into the space of observation. Oh, I zoomed out, I'm the observer now. Oh, that's so cool that I have that, you know? And then looking at your life, well, it's okay that she's worried and complaining, that just has to do with her program. And then we can send love inward and forgiveness to ourselves and begin to release that. And that's how we start to release the imprint, and then more energy starts to flow through the being, and then we're more alive, more awake, because we're going to keep becoming, just like you're saying, I feel more alive than I've ever been. Me too.
Yeah.
And I
There's
feel
no
like that
end
doesn't
point.
end. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no end point.
No.
No,
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah, it's a
infinite
cycle.
journey.
It's a cycle for sure. Yeah. Which is all part of it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how you continue to heal and evolve. And
Yeah, if it goes like this and it stays flat, nothing happens. You need kind of, basically, it's an understanding that there has to be conflict in order to be resolution.
Right.
We're just moving out of a state of consciousness where the conflict is so serious and ridiculous that we're killing each other over imaginary lines and ideas. to where we become more connected to our consciousness and say, oh, we can work together, we can form communities that work together to go with the flow, go with the wave.
Yeah, and that community energy is so powerful, whether it's in person or virtual.
Competition is just polarizing.
Sometimes it's okay. It's rare though.
I think there, and I'm not a competitive person at all, but I think there can be some healthy competition.
It just depends on what the
That's in
stakes
nature.
are. Are we competing to help ourselves get better?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, so that just hit me really hard because on the way here I had a vision, a Paco vision. It's called Tupe Take is what it's called. And the teaching is essentially, so up there in the mountains what they do to like relay information is they have like runners. They have these small Indian people that run from village to village, and it can take them a long time to get there. And then sometimes, I forget exactly when they do that, but they'll have races where these runners will race each other. And so they compete. But when they compete, whoever wins shows the loser how they won. That's totally opposite of how we do things. Like we don't actually share, like let me show you, like that's what we're all trying to do. That's why we're forming these communities, because we're winning, we're changing. And so I want to help you change, and you change, and you change. We want to help everyone.
Gotta give it away to get it.
Yeah, so that kind of competition is perfect. So we can compete to see who wins, and then we figure out how did that happen. Then everybody learns, opens up into that.
It's
'Cause
like
we all-
playing chess.
Mm.
You're exercising your brain, and I mean that's a healthy competition.
Yeah, and well, we all here know that what you give, you also get that tenfold.
Divine reciprocity.
Aini, that's what we call in our tradition. It's one of the primary cornerstones of the practice of the tradition. is
But
aini.
the key is to give and not expect anything.
That is the
Right.
key. Yeah, no
Right.
expectation.
Expectations are premeditated resentments.
Premeditated resentments.
Oh, I love that. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, or justifiable resentments too. Like it's okay that I resent you because of this.
Yeah. Because you didn't live up to my expectations.
Oh man. So what is Leann Rafton doing now? What's your goals? What do you want to happen? What do you want to see?
That's a question I'm asking myself frequently. I think I'm at kind of this crossroads now. I'm obviously still healing, learning. That's never done. I do have a habit of just consuming information and reading the books and listening to the podcasts, and I want to be better at sitting with it and integrating the information that I take in. But I mean, my career is real estate. That's my full-time job. The other stuff, the community stuff, is a passion, and it's something that I hope I can jump into more. So right now I'm leading the circle group with Elise in Westlake on Fridays.
Where is that in Westlake?
It's a little space that she rents. I can give the address here. It's 1019 Bassett Road, Westlake. It's kind of hidden, which I love because it's this little hidden space. It's next to a landscaper and a concrete company, so it's a lot of blue collar men coming and going. But it's just this little space that she rents, and it's kind of like a little hidden oasis. So we have a sauna there, a cold plunge. We lead this Friday circle group. We have it open for healers to rent out to do Reiki or one-on-one breathworks. It's just kind of a really beautiful healing space. So I'm helping out with that. I help her with some other events. We have some fire and ice open houses. We did one last month. We have another one June 10th and 11th. That's on Eventbrite as Fire and Ice.
Can you explain what that is?
And so, yeah, so that is, like I said, she's got the infrared sauna, the Morozco cold plunge, and I know she'll be promoting all this. And then she also brings in a wood fire sauna as well. That gets up to like 220, 230.
Mary was in it. She told me it was
It's
brutal.
wild. It is wild.
Super hot.
I love a sauna, and I think I lasted like 10, 15 minutes.
It's a long time though.
But it's just an open house, again, a community, come and go type of thing. We had a food truck last time, we had some music. But people like to do circuits in the hot and the cold and going back and forth, and that can be super therapeutic as well. So I'm helping her with some of those type of events. And then I've actually just started doing some one-on-one. I don't really like the word coaching because I feel like everybody's a coach these days, which is great and beautiful because it makes healing and help more accessible. But just support. So I've led some group meditations, and now I'm doing some one-on-one meditation, coaching, and accountability. And so I have a couple clients that I'm doing one-on-one work and sobriety support as well, which is in no way substituting a sobriety program, but just helping with the accountability in the community. So I'm doing some one-on-one stuff that way. And then I hosted a dry January drink tasting in January, obviously, because dry January is how I got started. Dave was there. That's how we got to know each other a little bit better. So I hosted that in January, and people loved it, and we had a really great turnout. So I'm putting one together for the end of June as well, and then I'm going to do a Sober October one as well. So at least 2 more events like that. Again, just all coming back to community, yeah, for sure. And obviously, that's a great, what you've done with this space is really important for the sober community.
Place
as
for
well.
healing and hope.
Yeah, and it's been beautiful, the events that I've attended here. And actually, one of the most profound things actually was your server Kevin posted on his Instagram that in the 6 months or so that he's worked here, he's never seen an argument or a fight. That was like, whoa, because how many...
And here's another thing. I have books and little trinkets and fidget spinners and darts and all this stuff sitting around. And in the 6 months I've been open, I haven't had one single thing stolen. Not one thing.
Yeah, that would never happen like in a normal
And
bar.
that's the thing, like I instantly went back to my hundreds and probably thousands of experiences in bars, and how it was just normalized to be fights, things broken, things stolen.
Arguing.
Yeah, it's
and people have
not a
had
healthy
some
environment.
very intense conversations here about like their very opposing viewpoints on seemingly important subjects to this reality.
Yeah.
But I mean, they actually listen to each other
Yeah.
and don't. I mean, nobody raises their voice. Like everybody's still friends after, even if they don't share the same opinion. Like,
Yeah,
there's
right.
still love.
Because they're level-headed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've created
it's
an
beautiful.
energy vortex right in the middle of the suburbs here.
Right. Yeah.
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 awesome.
Yeah. A huaca is what we call in our tradition. A PowerPoint.
All
or
the
a
cowboys
vortex.
serve as waka.
Yeah. Huaca. Indeed. Awesome.
Yeah, so just I want to be in those communities and environments more. I want to share my story and what I've been through and what's helped me. Basically, my ultimate goal is just to help people figure it out quicker than I did. I did so much trial and error, and that was absolutely necessary to figure out who I was and what was going to work. And even what works shifts for me. I'll lean into this modality or that tool. But yeah, I want to help other people figure it out too.
Yeah, same with our Moshi meetings here. It's incredible systemic healing to watch every Sunday.
Yeah. It seems like it's getting stronger and stronger.
Oh yeah,
Like
this
I know,
last one,
it's really
this last
powerful.
Sunday was so powerful.
I love
It
what
just
we do.
worked out perfectly.
I love what we're all doing.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of us all. I'm proud of you, Leann. I'm proud of you,
Thank you,
Dave.
guys.
I love you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you, and honored to be here.
Awesome. Well,
We'll merge to make a super organism that will take over the world.
or create a new one.
Yeah, I love the idea of the mycelium just kind of
Yeah.
slowly doing our thing, and it's just
It's very much the
underneath
truth.
everybody. Yeah.
So for those of us that can see the quantum space, I'm aware and I can see and I can feel it's energetic mycelium. We all are connected into it. We are. There's no separation from it. So it's exactly like that. That's why it's so cool that science and Paul Stamets, they brought forward, and that's part of the understanding, is that people start to learn how mycelium communicates and everything. This also relates then to the idea before one can see, it's just the concept of quantum space. Everything is a nervous system interconnected, and there's nodes of energy that we're calling like vortexes. They're all over the place. Even where you guys are doing your fire and ice and things over there, that's a vortex now.
Yeah.
That's got a bunch of energy lines. When you invite people there, they come there, they connect into the vortex of the energy line, adding medicine to it, taking some with them and going back out. And that's strengthening the lines, and strengthening communication, growing a community. Mycelium, it's just like the same thing. So that's why we always say that. You'll hear that almost every podcast. Mycelium shows up, because it's exactly like that. It's totally just like
Well, and they've studied it. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Maharishi effect.
Tell us about it.
So they studied it, I want to say it was like in the 60s or 70s in this crime-ridden town in England, and they sent meditators, expert meditators and yogis into this community, representing 1% of the community for the study. And as they meditated there, and they, kept to themselves, it wasn't announced, or the community wasn't directly affected by them, but the crime actually went down 16% just by them being there meditating. So I think that's important too, that our energy is affecting people without them even knowing it. It's affecting our neighbors, it's affecting our community, it's affecting our family within our home without saying, to my husband, you have to meditate and you have to do this and you have to, it's affecting everybody around us. So
we're doing the work for everyone. It's all one living thing, universal organism. That's what it is. And my teaching would be, all is one living energy. Separation is illusory.
It's just all about leading by example.
Exactly.
So it's very, very powerful.
And then people start to say, wait, what is this thing you're doing? I can see that light around you.
Right. You can feel your change. You can feel this from you. It's beautiful. It's wonderful.
We've had so many people involved in organized religion vibrating me too. Like we've been collecting pastors.
Pastors, yeah.
Beautiful. I love that.
Are already awake or are waking up.
Yeah. Some of them have been awake for a while waiting for us.
Oh, I just heard a great quote recently on a podcast with Rainn Wilson, who is Dwight from The Office, who I had no idea. He's incredible, and he's promoting a book. I forget the name of the book, but the quote that I loved was, "We threw the spiritual baby out with the religious bathwater." And I just love that. I love that, and I think that there is, and he said for good reason. There's been some horrible things come out of organized religion, but we've also just gotten so far from our own spirituality and our own inner and there is good in every religion. There's this other quote too. There's truth in every religion, but no religion is all true.
This is called omnism.
Yeah.
I'm an omnist. Pacos are omnists. We know there's teachings within all things. That's something that happens as we evolve. I'm aware that everything around me is teaching, showing me.
And that way we can use those religions to speak those people's languages. So we can
find that connection.
Yeah, find that connection
way
through their language instead of ours. Because the way we talk generally is
it's
people
kind of far out.
Wow, you guys are crazy.
Fourth dimension mindsets are rare as of right now, but they're growing. They're expanding really quickly, and that's why we're here. We're kind of nodes of that kind of information.
But we have a friend who's evangelical Christian pastor. He's been weaving consciousness into Christian sermons, so he's using Christianese to explain consciousness.
Christianese?
Christianese.
Yeah, language. It's even when I do work. So I do work in churches and things sometimes. And when I'm in there, I just change. I don't show up as Anthony, the Alto Messiah Kamaska shaman. I don't show up that way. I show up as just like, hi, I'm here, I'm Anthony. Sometimes it's just biohacking. I show up in some events. It all depends on what the event calls for, what's going on, what kind of people are there, all kinds of stuff like that. But that's really important and why these people show up in our lives. Like our friend Pastor Jim, he's shown up in my life, and what he's been teaching me is about my language, how I relate or relay information to other people. Just like how David was saying, if I go with what I see and understand, unless you're vibrating in that exact same frequency, it sounds really far out, and if anything, you'll lose interest. You'll be like, oh, no, what you're talking about.
Or you go too deep, and
Yeah.
yeah, I tend to go too deep.
Yeah.
I see people's wheels start turning, and I keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and then something snaps.
Yeah.
Just check out,
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why it's important for us to learn language, to learn
sure.
the language of all other beings and things, because that's what's happening. Just like we were talking about the pastors showing up, you know, within religion, there's pastors that are awakening into their higher mind, and then they're conflicted. I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I feel like I'm not telling the truth. You know, I'm not doing the service I said I was going to do. And then, fortunately, I think some of them do quit and move away, but then other ones start to understand. They start to take in the information, the signal of their higher mind, or what a Christian may call their Holy Spirit, or shamans may call their spirit guides. They start to take that connection in, and now they're not stuck, because that's what creates that feeling of stuck. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be going. It's because this mind only knows its past. We need to train ourselves. That's like, because there's awakening's one step. After that are many layers of ascension that happen, and that's the peeling away of resistance, understanding that I am quantum space.
Yeah.
That's where that really comes into, and we're seeing this on a big level. This is systemic, and now with what me and Mary have been doing for the last 3.5 years, we see it all over the world. We all have these little cells of people that are growing and expanding and doing like what we're doing, with the same intention. I just want to help other people become free. I feel free. I want others to become free.
Yeah. I think COVID was huge for that, making people kind of reevaluate their life and figure out like what's important and what do I want to be doing. You know, I've definitely felt that stuck, and I was lucky enough to recognize it and know what it was as burnout or time for a change, and just I was lucky enough to be able to just jump into a change and not, you know, really know the outcome, and that was huge, and that's
Sure.
how you learn and that's how you grow, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if something's stuck or you're unhappy, then you gotta just jump into the change, and most of the time you're grateful that you did, or you learn what's not gonna work.
Yep. That's the first step, is always
Yeah.
accepting change.
Yeah, and we talked about that with Dave and his ability to shift what this business was, and it's been beautiful.
I had something I was going to say, and I forgot what it was.
Yeah, and you did it with your career too. You recognize that, so.
Yeah, through my healing, getting my life back, it became pretty obvious what I had to do, and then my strong connection to my guidance, my higher mind and guidance. That's kind of how I allow my life to be led now. I don't use my thinking so much, I just kind of keep it out of the way, let my higher mind kind of help me navigate. And that's just something that kind of, you know, I'm a Kamaska shaman, so I'm a natural shaman, so it's just part of me that naturally woke up. It's part of my design and how everything works. But taking in and having that connection and information is what guides you. It's what told Dave to do this. It's what told you to do that. It's what told me to do that. Where do these, because what are thoughts? Thoughts are energy. That's what they are. We connect to them through our vibration. That's what happens. And then when you look at everything, just like that's what I was going to mention was COVID. That's no disease. That's what they injected into our reality to create fear. It's a change, systemic change. Everything, the whole world changed. And it wasn't illness at all. It's actually consciousness that was brought in. What happened to you when it happened? When it all came in, that was all part of the development of your consciousness that started. Mine too, his too.
Yeah.
Everybody. I met so many people that had huge shifts in consciousness at that same time, because it's all one thing. If you take away the story that we've been fed, it's just energy. How do things change? It's a wave. A new wave of energy comes in. We call it, it's COVID, it's a disease, and all these things. It's an upgrade to your nervous system is really what it is. And that's really how the comorbidities and everything worked out. Comorbidity also generally aligns with poor nervous system health. That's really what that is. But there's also people who are very fit, eat well, all those things, and still either died or had terrible symptoms because the nervous system was dysregulated because of the incessant thought, unresolved trauma, substance, all those things. So that's where I was able to see it kind of early on because of my sensitivity, but it also it's still like kind of painful to see everybody that suffered and everything through it. What if we were taught about it in a different way? What if from the beginning we were taught about it as, hey, well, this is an injection of from an energetic standpoint, not a media standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another beautiful hurdle to overcome to help us expand further.
That's right. Yeah. I just see everything as energy for potential and change. I mean, there's nothing bad. There's nothing evil. It's disorganized energy. People that do bad shit, it's just because they don't know any better, and they have energy that's disorganized, and they grow up in a reality or a neighborhood or with a family that has, meditators, gurus, shamans, sages, seers, people that actually can connect to living energy, people who are alive and awake and want to bring that to you. I mean, we're creating that world. We're
Most of us did
pioneers.
it, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Can't think of anything more beautiful.
Except for love. Love conquers all. And we love you, Leann Rafton.
You guys.
And we thank you so much for being here with us. Is there anything you'd like to plug or stick in there before we cut out?
I'll just tell people where they can reach out to me. If anything, that I said resonates with you or you want more information on. My Instagram, my name on Instagram and Facebook is Leann Rafton at LeannRafton. And I'll just throw my phone number out there. I'm, like I said, in real estate, so it's everywhere anyway. It's 440-315-0024. Feel free to call or text if you want more information on anything I mentioned.
I think you're going to be safe because this isn't a bathroom wall. I think it's going to be okay.
It might be on some of those too. Who knows? Who knows?
Absolutely. And what we'll do is we'll also put your links in the description to these videos.
Great.
And speaking of that, please watch these things on YouTube and on Spotify. And if you have not yet, subscribe, and turn on your notification to YouTube, please do. The more viewers we get, the better. And then we become monetized and we can really start to make change in the world.
And visit us at moshilove.org. We have a membership drive going on. There's many different tiers. We're just trying to create abundance to help as many people as we can. So if what we're doing resonates with you, please help and create systemic healing.
Systemic healing with mycelium. And come visit Sacred Waters. It's good for you. Try it out. Also, visit
Beautiful, beautiful medicine.
visit thepositivepineapple.org. You can find out about what we're doing. We do events here too. And right now we're working on creating a new list of services which will include discounts for Moshi members. Is that it?
Beautiful.
I love you guys so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Love you.
Blessings, love, light, gratitude to all. I love you all so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This has been the Quantum Shamans presented by Moshi with David and Anthony. We look forward to seeing you next week for more insight into who you are and your place in the universe.